Before we go on to the panel debate, I have a small thing from Natalia. She will come with. So, Natalia.
Thank you. I just wanted to share something very inspiring that happened to me during the break. And I hope you will understand why. I'm sure that you will understand why. I went up to share on Twitter, to invite our followers on Twitter for this final debate, final panel, to join us online. And as I was posting our message, and simultaneously 2 other messages appeared, and one of them was from Deepak Chopra. And the message was, as long as there is no scientific theory of consciousness, atheism remains a metaphysical idea based on pseudoscience and superstitions. And since we talked today so much about the science of spirituality, about the theory of spirituality, and this message came in such a right, timely moment, I could feel this energy of this new idea floating in the air. And the second message that appeared was more social, so to say. It was a message from The Guardian, from the British newspaper, and it was they reported on a research that was done recently in the United Kingdom. They reported it in a little bit of a mocking manner, as media prefers to do things, but the message is beautiful, I think. And it is, meet the new Puritans, young Britons cut back on drink and drugs. And the research shows a drastic decrease of alcohol intake and drug intake in the young generation in the United Kingdom, comparing to the generation of their parents, which created so many problems. And so there is obviously already a change that we are talking about, that we all feel, and it's manifesting. So I just wanted to share this wonderful news.
What will be the next step? Now we've spent here a wonderful day together. Where do we go from here?
Well, we go here, because from here we cannot go anywhere else but here. I would say that in this process is an ongoing process, just like breathing. We don't have a final breath unless we are in the end of this physical existence. So this process, I see it continuing. Maybe this is one of the first steps to continue and to repeat this maybe larger and larger gatherings of people who are working in this field, so that in this way we crystallize the experiences, we crystallize the conclusions, the methods, and so on. So I think that from here we can go here, and the process continues.
I think we talked during the panel debate about rewriting scripture. I think you were the one saying that. And I think being in dialogue, it's very important that we all respect each other's traditions and each other's scriptures as they are. But above that, we could write some new writings together. Maybe thinking of how we could utilize the scientific knowledge and all the new insights we have together. I think that would be a great challenge. But I think we should leave the old scriptures as they are, because they are our sources. So I think could that be a compromise?
Yeah, well, I think anyway we cannot go back in the past to write what was written. I mean, this is already done. What we can do today is valid for today. So, of course, we use those ancient scriptures and sources as what they are, sources. We can't change anyway. We can't change the past. And then today we can, by cooperation, build what is valid now for today. But using all these sources, because what we see now in the era of communication is just the fact that we have a lot of common points, and actually the differences are under our level, not above our level. So what unites us is up, what is different is down. So kind of we see the direction everywhere in all the things, maybe due to this communication time.
Well, I'm very much inspired listening to everyone who's been here, and I think people who have a genuine interest in spiritual experience, who enjoy the quest and who enjoy the feeling and enjoy that spiritual experience, have nothing to fear from each other and everything to gain by sharing. And I think Advaitananda was, when we were talking in the break, was mentioning how in the past the divisions between schools and churches just were not, people didn't think in that way. There was sharing, people who were mystics traveled from one place to another and shared their knowledge, and everyone was interested in getting as much input on the overall picture as possible. And I think we're going to come back to that. And I'd like to see that happening more and more. And it's very encouraging to feel something of that happening here. I think people who are mystics, who are practitioners, who have their inner experience, they come to the table with joy, not with fear, and interested in seeing, other angles and other poetic ways of expressing things, and get joy in hearing other people's insights as well. So yeah, this really good thing that you've taken the initiative to do, and I hope there's more and more of that.
Yes, I am especially inspired by the Danish writer Martinus, who has written his main work, Livets Bog, the Book of Life, in 7 volumes. Maybe he has in all written 10,000 pages, and he wanted to keep his person in the background. Now we have his works and we can study them scientifically. And in the preface to his main work, Livets Bog, he posed the question, where are a human being on its right place? Where are you? When are you on the right place? In that spiritual direction, in that religion. So it's a good question. When are you at the right place? And he says everybody is on his or her right place when this person feel inspiration, feel happiness. You feel life is good. You feel that you would like to do the good, to help others. You feel inspired and happy. Then you are on the right place. Then it doesn't matter if you like Krishna, or you are Muslim, you are Christian, and so on. So in a way, that's the most important for every single individual, to find, where do I get my inspiration? Where do I feel? And for that reason, I think it can be a little bit difficult to work together across, because many people have their own wavelength, and then there is a teaching at their wavelength. But of course, there are also people who are inspired by working together. That's also a special frequency. So of course, there will also be people who prefer to work on this wavelength. And it was just another little thing about religions. Martina thinks that you should be very tolerant, and you don't have to fight against any religions or any beliefs, because as long as a religion, a teaching, can inspire people, it has its right to exist. But if one day only 1, 2, 3 persons are inspired by this teaching, and when they die, the teaching is dying naturally. So you don't have to fight any teaching. It will exist as long as it can give inspiration to people. So that's the recommendation, just to find the place where you feel your special inspiration. Then you are at the right place.
I would like to say that thank you for this organization of seminar. It's been inspiring. And from what I understand, we are all of us actively doing something to help forward the race of spirituality in the modern society. And this we, of course, need to continue doing whatever we are doing. But I also feel that there is a lot of us who could benefit from each other, because we are all having different abilities and different activities that we are engaged in. And as I see it, Soteria International will need to, if there is cases coming up where there is violation of human rights, where there is violation of the freedom of spiritual practice, well, then you need to go under it with human rights, and you need to work for that. Otherwise, well, you don't get what you need. So in that sense, I would say, while we could take the viewpoint, like we have a very open society today, we are full of ways to communicate with the internet and so on, and this is like the popular networking that is coming up. I mean, we could actually network with each other as we would need to help each other, and I would say this we could do, we could help each other from now on. That's my suggestion. In whatever way we can. I mean, in the area of human rights, definitely I can assist with contacts to many people who are actively doing something there. So that's just my suggestion.
Thank you. In spite of Tanya's very positive note, and revelation, what she said about Deepak Chopra's Twitter and Guardian, I think from speaking from a pragmatic and down-to-earth level, I think what we need, all people who work with, either we work with spiritual or organized religion or with NGOs, that first step is to acknowledge the reality we live in. It's very important. And then acknowledge the differences we have. We don't have to kiss each other, but at least we can acknowledge the differences, but find common ground to work further. So that is a start, because when I travel a lot in Europe, because of my work, and I see that there's a lot of ugliness in the society which has crept in now. And if we want to do some good, if you have a flu and we go to a doctor, we don't get the medicine for our legs, but for our flu. So in order to have right medicine, you need to have a right diagnosis. That's the first thing. Because as a minority person, as a black person living in a white Europe, I see those tendencies have very dire consequences, in the shape of racism, in the shape of exclusion from the society, even in violence, actually, hate crime is coming up. So how do we do that? And I don't want to antagonize my brother, but I prefer to lessen the role of God in a person's pursuit of happiness, and actually increase a human being's own responsibility to take charge, so that we don't use God as a crutch, as I said before. The second thing is that, of course, there is a relationship between higher forces, whether you call it God or Allah or Bhagavan, and human being, and it's very important. But at the same time, we should not negate that we as human beings are divine. We are not just ordinary, we are divine human beings in this whole universal. So that is why my personal relationship with my God is very private. I don't run around with my relationship with God on my shoulder and say, hey, look how spiritual and religious I am. Coming to what can spiritual organization do? That was the question you posed. And there are two things I can concretely suggest. One is to build alliances. Spiritual organization and movements are very bad at building alliances. They're happy in their little karma world and they think everything is fine. It's not fine. So in order to build alliances, then you have to go through all those rules and regulation and you have to find out. But it's very important. And the second thing we have to do is we have to open ourselves. I have experienced a lot of organizations. They are very blissful in their own ignorance. And I think by opening up to the world, the larger world, I think it will give the larger world also to get to know you, get to know your organization, and get to know what you do. And I will give an example, and then also self-criticism is very important. We are very sensitive to criticism, and I think especially the religious organization and spiritual organization, if they learn to receive criticism, objective criticism, then you can use it to move forward. And I will give you an example.